The classic Malayalam cinema that I fell in love with is back. That too with women who thought they exist. Is it the best film of the year? Let's talk about it. Hello guys, I'm Nona Prince and I finally watched... Come on, I can do this. Come on. Ullozhukku. Written and directed by Christo Tomy. The film is streaming on Amazon Prime and interestingly, it was produced by a Bollywood studio, RSVP Films. So that is an interesting crossover. Now, sometime back, there was this debate that the women are missing in Malayalam cinema and we had a whole discussion about it. But with this film, it feels like they're back. Now, why do I call this the classic Malayalam cinema? Is because it has all those attributes, I fell in love with at the start when I started exploring it. The rooted stories, the nuances, the use of the setting as a metaphor for the narrative, the natural performances. It is a slow burn, but a lot is happening which keeps you hooked throughout. Now to talk more about the film, I have to delve into the spoilers. So if you have seen the film, then only continue watching. There's so many interesting things to talk about. Alright, so I wanted this to be a bit different, to deep dive into the themes of the film. Not just in respect of the film, but even outside, how we look at them. And I hope this adds a different flavor to the video and you like it. The first thing I noticed was the power of editing in this film. How a simple cut can tell a story. Often it's assumed that editing is just rearranging all the scenes which are shot in a linear format to tell the story. And technically editing is that, but there's a lot more you can do with this tool to tell a more layered story. I find this idea of editing very fascinating because you are in a way playing with time. You're reducing time. You're manipulating it. Even this review, right? It's very long, but I'm cutting it short. You're not watching the real time, 1 hour long video, but a compressed version where the pauses, the wrong takes have been removed. And you're watching a 8-10 minute version of an hour long recording. And when films utilize this power in a very different way to tell a story, to make a point in the narrative, I think that's where the great editing comes from. A big example of it is how Christopher Nolan does it. Imagine you could cut out various chunks of your life and readjust them. That's like God level power. Now in this film, irrespective of it was already planned in the writing stage, the script level, or they took the decision in the post-production during the edit, what matters is the end result we get, which is the decision of the cut, where to place it. Now the opening shot of the film established these two characters who are in love but are unable to get together. And then we cut to the girl sitting in a bridal wear on a boat and the supposed husband walks into the frame and it's not the same guy, it's someone else. And that just one cut instantly tell you what has happened here. That love story never got fulfilled. And you can definitely assume why unless the film tells you otherwise. There could have been multiple ways to show this, right? Between these two scenes, there could have been so many more scenes to establish the fact that they are in love, they are unable to get together, the guy doesn't have a job, they're trying everything, but now the girl is forced to get married, all the drama happens, and finally she's married. And then we reach to that scene. But all of that is just removed. We just have one cut and all of it is just established. And there are many more such sequences in the film. There's one when mother-in-law picks up the phone and find out about the lover. And there we cut to Parvathy's character lighting a candle. Now here they played the sound design. Before we cut, we hear the sound of the matchstick and then we cut to the candles already lit. And that is the first time we actually see fire in the film, which also represents the fire between these two characters now. Now let's talk about the use of setting in the film. There's a very big reason why this story is taking place in this small village, which often gets flooded during the rains. And that rain is constant throughout the film. That rain is not just a physical presence that is stopping our characters to move around, but it's also a metaphor for what the characters are going through within. And that is very well depicted the way the film is shot. There are so many close-ups and mid-shots. We don't get a wide-angle shot unless we are going out of the village. Even the way the characters are framed together, it's very intimate because the film is about interpersonal relationships. I feel like using the setting of the film is very underutilized tool in storytelling. The place you are establishing a narrative can add so much value. The way you utilize that place by showing it very big, wide to give a feel of loneliness, or making it very small, a cramped place to create suffocation, and also use that as subtext of the narrative. It demands a lot of thought to be put in, thinking about how the place can add layers to the narrative. I always go back to Parasite because it does it really well. In that film, the rich house is always placed higher, not because it's on a hilltop, but thematically in the narrative to show the class difference. Whenever these people are going to the rich house, they have to always go up because they are at a height. And whenever they have to go back home, they always go downwards. And that just adds a different layer to the film, which is right in front of us, very obvious, but it doesn't come in the way. Without saying anything, just through the visuals, it is saying so much. Now we have a couple in front of us, and knowing what happened in the first scene, we know it is a forced marriage. Anju, played by Parvathy, didn't want this. And we all can assume what has happened. The parents have forced her. She didn't have a choice. And we see that there's a clear lack of understanding between the couple. Just because they sleep together every day in the same bed, does that mean they are in love? What is love? Especially between two strangers who don't even know each other that well. Just because they stay together, they sleep together, can you say they are in love or they are together? I feel it's all about creating that connection, that bond, which happens over time. When you know more than just the name of the other person, you understand their personality. And you don't actually feel that bond unless it's absent. When you start missing that connection, I feel that's where you understand that it existed. But when there's none of it, you actually don't even care if the other person even exists, because it becomes replaceable. When it will be absent, you will not feel anything. You'll not miss it. And maybe that's the difference between there being love and not. Now the filmmaking tools are used really well to give you a sense of suffocation that Anju feels here. We see quite early in the marriage, the husband has fallen ill, quite ill. He's almost bedridden. And no one would really want something like this in marriage at such an early stage. You're not even bonded together, you don't even know each other that well. And suddenly, one person's existence is a burden on the other. And here comes the rain, the rising water, which is limiting the characters, which is trapping the characters within this house. Just like how this forced marriage and what has happened is trapping Anju within this house, within this relationship. And add to that the plot of her getting back together with her lover and finding out that she's pregnant. So now there's added guilt and shame. Our Indian society particularly believes in the family values, that family comes first. That's part of our culture. That's what our elders have grown up with. But today there's a big shift to that. The new view is to think about yourself, your mental health, to be in a way selfish, that your biggest priority should be yourself. And the people who don't agree with this thought, they name it as the Western influence, because that's the culture there. That it's invading our culture, it's destroying our culture and our youth. And people with that ideology watching this film would feel the same. They will judge Anju, that how could she do it? But if you think from her perspective, she had her own desires. She wants to live her own life, and she's not getting anything from the current relationship. She was forced. So for her to make a decision to go meet the lover, it can be justified because she's thinking about herself, not about the society norms. Because other people don't know what she's suffering through. Should she go through all this punishment because she was married? That too forcefully. Can she not live her own life? Because that she's married now, her only duty is the husband, that family she's married into. They should be her only priority. Because that is what exactly is preached. It's propagated through a lot of medium. So I like the films, which make you question these things. What is right? What is wrong? The gray area, the ambiguity. Creating these thoughts in your mind, you grow as a person watching a film. Now at this point, the way the movie builds tension when the mother-in-law finds out that she's pregnant and she thinks that it's his son's child, and now they have to break this news to the husband who's in the hospital recovering. We are building up to the moment she has to reveal it. The moment she reveals it, he will understand it's not his, because we saw a scene that they haven't been together. Now a secret will be out, and that's the moment he dies. This definitely felt like a filmy moment. Coincidences are a big part of telling a narrative. Almost every film has these moments, but it all depends how much you are into the film that you don't see it as a coincidence. Oh, there's a cute bird out there. If the suspension of disbelief is really high, you don't ask any questions. You take everything in. But if it's low, you point out all the mistakes. And that's the whole art, right? That you make the audience convinced. It's all about make-believe. There's a way to make all of this work without the audience understanding it. It is a game of deception. It was interesting to note that we don't see a lot of crying when the husband passes away. Neither from the wife, which is we understand, but nor from the mother. Maybe because he was suffering so much and it was like coming. It had to happen one day. But we see a sense of relief for Anju's character. And there are multiple reasons for it. First, the secret is not out. And second, maybe she is finally free. We see a sense of calmness in her. The whole sequence of her, cleaning the room. There's a pinch of happiness as she's getting rid of everything. But it's not over. The suffocation is back because the mother-in-law now wants the child. The child will fill the void that the son has left. Not just the son, a void she had even before she lost the son. Because the daughter left, the husband left, she feels lonely. It was established before. Now the child is not just a bondage for Anju, but it's also a big lie, which is haunting her. And here we get a dream sequence, which I felt interesting, but it actually doesn't add to the visual language the film had throughout. Like we never saw any other dream sequence. Everything else is very realistic, all natural movements. The sequence felt as odd one out. And the film is already able to communicate the fact what she's going through. I'm able to decipher the suffocation Anju is feeling. And over that, the mother-in-law put pictures of the husband throughout the room. So that gives you the idea, but the dream sequence kind of felt like a spoon-feeding exercise. It's like telling the audience that if you don't understand what's happening here, take this scene. This is what she's going through. So the drama between both of them unfolds. She is caught, the truth is out between them, and it feels like they're kind of done with the conflict. Even the rain starts to subside. And I was wondering, now what will happen? There's a lot of movies still left. And then the rain comes back and a new lie is revealed. That Anju was cheated on. She was never informed about the husband's illness before marriage. And that is nothing less than destroying a person's life. Because it is a scam. You know, she was already forced into the marriage. And then what happened with the husband, she thought it's fate. But that was not the case at all. It was a deceit. And at this point, the narrative, the film flips the characters. Till now, we understood where Anju is coming from, but she did the wrong thing by cheating on the husband. And we see the mother-in-law as a victim. But now we find out that Anju was the victim and it's actually the mother-in-law who cheated. Boom. Here, she kind of becomes the villain of the story because all her actions are for her selfish gains, just like Anju's. And Urvashi carries it so well. I really enjoy when films give you the whole picture and you are just taken aback. It's about how you reveal the information to the audience. We could know all of this at the start of the film and then see the drama unfold. But that will not have the same impact compared to when it's revealed slowly. And that adds a layer of complexity to the narrative. It's like peeling an onion. Layer by layer, you find out new things inside. And that process keeps you thinking, keeps you engaged in it, and thus having a bigger impression on you. Now we also had the lover, Rajiv, played by Arjun Radhakrishnan, and he was a red flag from the start. He was actually blaming Anju for everything that's happening, and his character was that he's a loser. That's it. There's nothing more to that, and I don't think the film has time to even develop his character. Now throughout the film, everything Anju is going through, we want her to leave this house. But by the end, we want her not to leave, and that's the whole arc. As the film unfolds, we see how the most hated place becomes the most safest place for her. She had two choices, one with the lover, one with the mother-in-law. And we see in the film both are flawed people. Both of them need her, but who does she need? Who's the one who actually loves her? Who's willing to put her over them? There's a saying, when you like a flower, you pluck it. But when you love the flower, you water it every day. And that helps her making the decision. She chose the mother-in-law who accepted her mistake and gave her freedom to decide what she wants to do, over the lover who was still blaming her that why she didn't get the property. Now I'll assume there will be opinions out there that she shouldn't have chosen any one of them and left and be alone and independent. But I don't think that's the point of the narrative. It wants to show that when the lies are gone, that's when you can really create a true bond between people. If things are hidden, there are ulterior motives, you'll never create a true connection because you'll feel like you'll not know each other that well. So then how could you live with them? Now the title Ullozhukku means undercurrents, which has a metaphor meaning of things hidden under. The surface current is in a different direction, but the undercurrent is in a different direction. And moving through that will always cause trouble. But when these hidden lies are gone and things are true to nature, things become easy. The performances in the film were really good. Both the leads just crushed it. Urvashi is just a legend. But for me, Parvathy's performance is one of her finest because it's so different to not just her other roles, but also what she is in real life. The way she depicts the mental state of Anju is brilliant. Now this film will definitely go for me in the top 10, and this video you can check out the other films in that list. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you next time.